What if I told you this story shaped the soul of Australia? Today, we dive into the incredible life of Banjo Paterson, the legend behind Waltzing Matilda and the man from Snowy River. Andrew Barton. Banjo Paterson was one of Australia's most revered literary figures, a bush poet, war correspondent, journalist and balladeer whose works captured the essence of the Australian spirit and landscape during a formative time in the nation's history. He is best remembered for composing Waltzing Matilda, Australia's unofficial national anthem, and for poems such as The Man from Snowy River and Clancy of the Overflow. His writing immortalized the rugged life of the bushmen, stockmen and drovers of the Australian outback and continues to shape Australian cultural identity to this day. Andrew Barton Paterson was born on the 17th of February 1864 at Narambla, a property near Orange, New South Wales. He was the eldest of 7 children born to Andrew Bogle Paterson, a Scottish immigrant grazier, and Rose Isabella Barton, from a well-established Australian family. On his mother's side, Banjo was related to Sir Edmund Barton, Australia's first Prime Minister. When Andrew was still a young boy, the family moved to Illawong, a station near Yass, New South Wales. It was here, surrounded by the Australian bush and the people who worked the land, that Paterson developed a deep connection with rural life, an influence that would later become central to his poetry. He was educated first by a governess and then attended Sydney Grammar School. Though he had literary talent early on, he pursued a practical career and studied law. He became a solicitor in 1886, working in the legal profession for many years while continuing to write poetry in his spare time. Banjo Paterson began writing poetry under the pseudonym The Banjo, which was the name of his favorite horse. His first poems were published in The Bulletin, a Sydney-based literary magazine that promoted nationalism and the bush ethos. His first major breakthrough came with Clancy of the Overflow in 1889, a poem that contrasted the freedom of bush life with the dullness of city routine. The poem resonated deeply with readers and became a classic of Australian literature. In 1895, Paterson published his first collection of poems, The Man from Snowy River and Other Verses, which sold over 5,000 copies in its first year, a phenomenal success at the time. The title poem, The Man from Snowy River, celebrates bush horsemanship and bravery and became one of Australia's most iconic ballads. During this period, Paterson also wrote what would become perhaps his most enduring work, Waltzing Matilda, penned in 1895 while visiting Dagworth Station in Queensland. Working with Christina McPherson, who had a Scottish tune in mind, Paterson wrote the lyrics that would evolve into Australia's unofficial national anthem. Banjo Paterson's writing is characterized by its use of simple language, vivid imagery, and rhyming ballad style, making his poetry accessible and memorable. His work often celebrates mateship, courage, stoicism, and the romanticism of the bush life. Unlike his literary rival Henry Lawson, who often highlighted the darker, more realistic aspects of outback life, Paterson presented a more romanticized and heroic image of rural Australia. His characters, horsebreakers, swagmen, drovers, and bushrangers, were often cast as national heroes, symbols of a free and rugged Australian identity. In addition to his poetry, Paterson had a significant career as a journalist and war correspondent. Between 1899 and 1900, he served as a war correspondent for the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, covering the Second Boer War in South Africa. He was present at several major events, including the Siege of Kimberley. He later reported from China during the Boxer Rebellion and from the UK at the time of King Edward VII's coronation. When World War I broke out, Paterson attempted to enlist, but was rejected due to his age. He was 50 at the time. Nevertheless, he served as an ambulance driver with the Australian Voluntary Hospital in France, and later was commissioned as a lieutenant in the Remount Unit, responsible for managing horses in Egypt and Palestine. His love and respect for horses was a consistent theme throughout his life and writing. After the war, Paterson returned to Australia and settled into a quieter life. He continued to write poetry and prose and took on editorial roles with the Sydney Mail and other publications. In 1921, he published The Collected Verse of A.B. Paterson, which remains in print to this day. 3 Elephant Power and Other Stories, 1917. Short Stories, An Outback Marriage, 1906. Novel The Animals Noah Forgot, 1933. Humorous animal poems Happy Dispatches, 1934. Autobiography and reflections. In recognition of his contribution to literature and national identity, Paterson was awarded the Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, in 1939. Banjo Paterson died of a heart attack on the 5th of February 1941 in Sydney, just shy of his 77th birthday. He was buried in the Northern Suburbs Cemetery, now Macquarie Park Cemetery, in Sydney. His influence remains deeply embedded in Australian culture. His face appeared on the $10 Australian banknote from 1993 to 2017, alongside scenes from The Man from Snowy River. Waltzing Matilda continues to be sung at sporting events, national ceremonies, and gatherings across the country. The Banjo Paterson Writing Awards and the annual Banjo Paterson Australian Poetry Festival, held in Orange, are testaments to his enduring legacy. Poems: Waltzing Matilda, The Man from Snowy River, Clancy of the Overflow, Mulga Bill's Bicycle, The Geebung Polo Club, The Bush Christening, Saltbush Bill Series, The Man from Snowy River and Other Verses, 1895, Rio Grande's Last Race and Other Verses, 1902, The Collected Verse of A.B. Paterson, 1921, Happy Dispatches, 1934. Interesting facts. Banjo Paterson's poems were sometimes set to music and performed as folk songs. He was a close contemporary of Henry Lawson, and their rivalry in the Bulletin became known as the Bulletin Debate, about the reality versus romanticism of bush life. Paterson briefly courted Sarah Riley, but during a visit to Queensland he met and later married Alice Walker, whom he wed in 1903. They had 2 children. Conclusion: Banjo Paterson captured the very heartbeat of Australia at the turn of the 20th century. His words painted vivid portraits of wide plains, rugged mountains, larrikin characters, and gallant bushmen. Through his poetry, he helped Australians see themselves in a new light, brave, free-spirited, and uniquely tied to the land. His legacy is one of inspiration, humor, and national pride. Paterson is not merely a poet, but a voice of Australia's soul, a timeless storyteller whose verses still echo through the bush and the hearts of Australians today. Banjo Paterson didn't just write poems, he wrote Australia's spirit into history. If you enjoyed this journey, give the video a like, drop a comment on your favorite poem, and hit that red subscribe button for more stories that shape the world. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a new video.